Okay, it's part 10 of The Land of Roar. When we'd last left Arthur and Wyn, they were with the sinister Crowky, half crow, half scarecrow. What could be more frightening than that? And they were trying to escape from his clutches. Let's have a look. Chapter 21. We turn and run, but we've only taken a few steps before we realise our path is blocked. The rock behind us is now packed full of scarecrows. There are more than I can count, and they are pushing and shoving at each other, apparently desperate to get at us. Where did they come from? I whisper. The Raven, says Wyn. Further along the magic road, Crowky's battleship is tethered to a rock. It must have crept up in the mist, and now it's creaking and groaning as the waves smash against it. Crows circle around the sails, their caws sounding like laughter. I see more scarecrows jump from a deck. Then, like a swarm of scurrying creatures, they rush to join the pack standing opposite us. The scarecrows stare through mismatched button eyes. Wisps of straw float off them as they hunch forward, preparing to attack. Some smile, some snarl, their stick fingers twitch. Crowky is behind us, his army is in front of us, and all around the waves of the bottomless ocean. We're trapped. The mission hasn't quite gone according to plan, says Wyn as the scarecrows inch closer. Not quite. I hear a rustle of wings and see Crowky is closing in on us too. He's frowning in concentration and making strange bird-like sounds, harsh caws and clicks. And as one of the pack of scarecrows crouch into a striking position, I realise that Crowky just made them do that. Last time I was in Roar, he worked alone. Now he's commanding this army. Arthur? Wyn shoves me. Any bright ideas? My eyes flick from Crowky to the scarecrows. Let's fight the scarecrows. There are loads of them, but if we can get past them, at least we stand a chance of getting back to land. Can they stuff things like Crowky? Wyn shakes his head. I don't know, mate, but there's one way to find out. Ready? Ready. My trembling voice gives away my fear. He clutches his wand in front of him. Say that thing. What thing? That thing you always used to shout, you know, hear me roar. At that moment, the scarecrows surge forward and I hear a great flap of wings behind me. Hear me roar, I yell. Hear me roar! Wyn and I fling ourselves over the gap and onto the next rock. The moment we hit the ground, we're tugged apart. Scarecrows pull at me, scratch my face and tear at my clothes. I stagger to my feet and try to smash my way through them. But there are too many, and they press closer and closer, punching and stamping. Then the crows join in too, pecking and jabbing, aiming for my eyes. Keeping an arm over my face, I try to fight back. I thrust the wooden sword in front of me, trying to clear a path, but it's plucked from my hands, and the next thing I know, it's smacking me across my shoulders. I pull a scarecrow's arm so hard that it comes off in my hands, but the scarecrow just swings round and smashes me with its other fist. Between blows, I see Wyn struggling to hold on to his wand. Soon the scarecrows force us together until we're cowering at the very edge of the rock. Just when I think we're going to be shoved into the sea, they fall back. With a leap, Crowky lands on our rock and strides towards us, eyes gleaming. Oh dear, says Wyn. Oh dear. We clutch each other for support. Wyn, we've been defeated in under 3 minutes. At least we're going down in a blaze of glory. I see that at some point one of the scarecrows got Wyn's rucksack on my back and is now rummaging through it. It pulls out one of the apples, opens its mouth and swallows it whole. I shake my head. This isn't a blaze of glory. It's pathetic. Crowky stops in front of us. Pathetic, he says. I couldn't have chosen a better word myself. Then, in one lightning quick movement, he lunges forward and grabs hold of my shoulders. The second his tweaked fingers dig into my skin, a cold numbness slams into me. I struggle and kick out, but already my legs are becoming stiff. Drain, hisses Crowky. Drain. I twist and turn, but Crowky only presses harder, his eyes rolling to the back of his head as everything warm inside, my life, my breath, seeps away. I see Wyn grab Crowky's arm, but one kick sends him flying to the ground. Drain. Drain. Crowky's voice is a hoarse whisper. As the chill creeps up my neck towards my throat, Crowky seems to come to life. His head lifts, his eyes focus, and his wings start to beat, slowly at first, then faster and faster until they're a blur, and then he's rising into the air. I'm flying, he shrieks, I'm flying! His hands squeeze tighter, and he lifts my heavy icy body up with him. My throat is tight, but I manage to cry, Wyn, help! Wyn staggers to his feet and wraps his arms around my legs. Instantly I feel a glow of warmth and I'm able to twist from side to side, but Crowky's grip is like steel. and his wings just beat harder, pulling me higher in the air until I'm being torn in two. Below me, waves smash against the rocks and Crowky kicks out at Win, who is clinging on to my legs, refusing to let go. Crowky pushes his face close to mine. I see a loose thread dangling from one button eye and breathe in his musty, feathery smell. I really do have you now, don't I, Arthur Trout? Then he throws his head back and cackles. At that moment, a screech echoes across the valley. It's followed by a thudding like distant thunder. Crowky's eyes shift from my face to the sky beyond. Then his face crunches up with rage. No! I manage to turn my head. Two vast shapes are moving through the sky, beating a path towards us. Dragons! Wing cries as great wings loom through the mist. There is another spine-tingling screech and a ball of fire explodes in the sky. One of the dragons leads the way, close enough now for me to see light shining through his red wings and the arrowhead tail that droops below him. Pickle? I whisper. A darker, larger dragon tumbles around Pickle, snapping at his tail. Vlad! The dragon's names come back to me as fast as they're cutting through the sky. Pickle soars closer and closer until the flash of fire shooting from his jaws showers us with sparks. Crowky howls, and that's when I remember that if there's one thing straw-stuffed Crowky hates, it's fire. Who's that? Pickle dives and his talons stretch wide as if he's preparing to strike. Then, through the black smoke billowing from his nostrils, I see a figure sitting on his back. Her eyes are blazing and her hair is flying out behind her. She's wearing slippers and a leopard print onesie. Rose! I yell, and at that moment Crowky loses his grip and I fall backwards past the rock and towards the sea, dragging Win down with me. Oh goodness. Chapter 22. Down we go, screaming and thrashing our arms. The sea sucks back, and just as we're about to smash headfirst on the rocks, talons scrape across my back and I'm swept into the air. I see Win swinging from Pickle's other clawed hand. Pickle's wings beat hard and we soar higher and higher, away from the magic road and Crowky and his army. Oh, relief sweeps through me until I realise that as the crow's nest falls behind us, we're leaving Grandad behind too. But when I see just how high up we are and how loosely Pickle seems to be holding me, all thoughts of anything disappear. My hat's burnt, Win laughs, pulling off his head to show me. He has a big grin on his face, but I can't even talk. I lied when I told Rose I wasn't afraid of anything. I'm afraid of loads of things, but most of all, I'm afraid of heights, or rather falling. The clouds floating below my feet make my insides feel like liquid and my legs tremble. Wow. Oh, look at Win's having a fab time. Not so much for Arthur. I wonder which one you'd be up there. I'd like to think I'd be him. Win. Or maybe Rose would be good as well. You never know, it might be a bit like that too. And there they are. I wonder if that's the archipelago. Let's have a look. No, it makes all of me tremble. Wow, cries Win. Look at the tangled forest. It's so pretty. Win, I managed to say, we're dangling in the claws of a dragon about a mile off the ground. It's not pretty. It makes me want to puke. Then I squeeze my eyes shut while Win gives me a running commentary of our journey over all. I think my cave is over there. Oh, check out the tiny trees. I only risk a quick look down when Win tells me we're flying over the archipelago. No, archipelago, I think, remembering the tiny islands drawn on the map. I'm tempted to try to spot more landmarks from the map to find the tangled forest and the on-off waterfall, but I can't quite bring myself to raise my head. Win laughs. I haven't been here for ages. The water looks silver-like. Or like silver even. Floating below us are the hundreds of islands that make up the archipelago. They've dotted across water that's so still I can see Pickle's and Vlad's reflections sailing below us, and even me and Win swinging from Pickle's claws. I feel myself slip ever so slightly and shut my eyes again. If I can't see, I can almost pretend this isn't happening. But I can't ignore Pickle's deadly burps. At least I hope they're burps. Rushes of hot smelly gas keep whipping past my face, making me squeeze my mouth shut as well as my eyes. And Vlad doesn't make the journey go any smoother. I can hear him circling us, shrieking at Pickle and trying to draw him into play fights. Arthur! Win has to shout to be heard over the dragon's beating wings. I think we're landing! I open one eye. He's right. We've dropped lower and are circling an island. I haven't been able to speak to Rose since Pickle snatched us to safety, but I guess she knows where she's going. As we spiral closer to the island, I see it has a lagoon in the middle, and off to one side a hut with a jetty. It looks vaguely familiar, and so does the dark shape meandering below the surface of the lagoon, like a giant goldfish. Pickle is gliding now, but we're not slowing down. If anything, as the ground rushes up to meet us, it feels like we're going faster. Do you reckon Rose has remembered we're down here? Shouts Win. Definitely, I yell. But then Pickle flies so low over a field that we have to pull our legs up to stop them from being dragged along the rocky earth. Maybe. Moments before we smack into the ground, Pickle swings left, opens his talons and drops us onto a pile of dry grass. For a moment we just lie there, curled up and stunned, when Win leaps to his feet and cries, "That was mind-blowing! Let's do it again!" I simply groan and savor the amazing sensation of lying on solid ground and having a body that might be bruised but isn't being squeezed by a scarecrow or held loosely by a dragon. Pickle lands with a thump and Vlad crashes down next to him. Rose slides off Pickle's back and immediately the dragons start licking her face with their black tongues. Then Vlad lifts up a foot and gently knocks her to the ground, where they nuzzle her and roll her playfully about on the grass. Rose wriggles out from underneath them and issues a stern command, making them slink away, tails curled under their bodies. As they plod over to the pool and start to drink great gulps of water, Rose stomps towards us, her slippers crunching over shells and wild flowers. She looks furious. Her normally straightened hair has sprung into curl and she's covered in grass and dragon spit. She stops in front of me, wipes the slimy stuff off her face and puts her hands on her hips. "What is going on, Arthur?" "Rose!" Win tries and fails to give her a hug. "Thanks for saving my life. I definitely owe you one." Rose acts like he's invisible and continues glaring at me. So Win gives her a final squeeze, then goes off to peer into the lagoon. "You came after me," I say. She shrugs like it's no big deal. "When I got back from town and discovered you'd gone missing too, I decided you were both playing a trick on me. So I watched TV, then had a bath and went to bed." "Seriously, Rose? You watched TV, then had a bath and went to bed? Did you sleep well?" She scowls. "No, I didn't, as a matter of fact. It got later and later and I was all on my own and I was scared and I didn't have a clue what to do. In the morning when you still hadn't come back, I decided to call the police. But before I did that, I crawled through the camp bed, even though I knew it was totally ridiculous, just to check it wasn't some weird portal to another world. And you discovered it was some weird portal to another world?" She frowns. "Yeah, not what I was expecting." "And you just went through the bed, straight into the tunnel and ended up here? It worked the first time?" "Yep. I came out on the ledge, ducked back to miss the waterfall, then whistled for Pickle. Since then, I've been looking for you." This is typical of Rose. She has to do everything better than me. Running, spelling, entering fantasy worlds. She glances around, taking in the spectacular islands of the archipelago. "It's amazing, isn't it?" I say. "I guess." "You guess? Rose, it's incredible. Raw is real." She shakes her head stubbornly. "I don't know what this place is, but it's definitely not real, is it? Not like home or school or mum and dad." Under our feet, the earth starts to tremble. "Ground wobble!" shouts Win, delighted. "Don't worry, they happen all the time. You'll get used to them." After a second or two, the shaking fades away. "This place isn't safe," says Rose firmly, then starts to walk towards the hut. "We've got to get out of here, Arthur. Go back home." I catch her up with her and grab her arm. "But we can't go home. Not until we've got Grandad." She shakes me off. "How do you know he's even here? I'm almost 100% certain that this is all some freaky dream and any second now I'm going to wake up back in the real world." "I know he's here because Win found this." I pull out Grandad's blue inhaler. Rose stares at the familiar L-shaped plastic tube. "And Crowky was wearing Grandad's t-shirt. We have to rescue Grandad. And if we leave now, maybe we can get back to the crow's nest before it's dark. Perhaps with Pickle and Vlad we'll stand a chance of beating Crowky." Rose makes an exasperated sound. "Arthur, how can you speak like this is normal and you're planning a little trip to the crow's nest? None of this is normal." She points at Win, who is punching a sunflower. "He isn't normal." "What?" says Win. "Who's not normal?" "No one," I say, then I lower my voice. "I'm talking like this because we've got no choice. Crowky's stuffed Grandad, Rose. Do you remember what that means? Right now, Grandad is dangling somewhere in Crowky's dungeons and he can't move or talk. If Win's right, we have less than 72 hours to get to Grandad, or he'll stay like that forever." Rose frowns. "That sounds like something Win made up." "No, it doesn't. It sounds like something we made up." I'm almost shouting now. I have to get Rose to take this seriously. She stares into the distance. "You're right," she says eventually. "We have to go back to the crow's nest and find Grandad. But we can't go now. There's nowhere to land the dragons. It's all turrets and rocks, and there are too many of those things." "They're scarecrows," I say. "Crowky made them." "Well, whatever they are, they would catch us in seconds." Win abandons his sunflower and comes over to join us. "If we're going to get into the crow's nest, we need help from someone with brains and good magic." Hello," says Win, pointing at himself. Rose gives him a withering look. "Like who?" I say. For the first time, Rose smiles. "You don't know where we are, do you?" I look around, taking in the path that circles the edge of the lagoon and the huge flat rocks. No, although I feel like I've been here before. What if I told you that this lagoon is filled with merfolk? As she says this, a scaly tail flips out of the water, then disappears. A moment later, a face emerges, but only the forehead and eyes before slipping below the surface of the water again. And that, says Rose, nodding towards the hut, is where Mitch lives. Wynne groans. Mitch the Merwitch. She'll mock my magic. She always mocks my magic. She's so sarcastic, I say. Do we really need Mitch's help? Yes, Rose raises her chin. You're not the only one who gets to have an imaginary friend, Arthur. Wynne tugs on my sleeve. What's an imaginary friend? I look at Wynne's big eyes. It's just a word me and Rose use. When we say imaginary, what we really mean is amazing. A smile spreads across his face. So my magic's imaginary. My ninja skills are well imaginary. Have I got it? Yep, you've got it, I say, and we follow Rose up the path to the hut. Mitch! You'll never guess who's back, cries Wynne, hammering on the door. You've only got both Masters of Raw on your doorstep. When no one answers, he jumps in the air, cries, Leaping Tiger Kick, and slams his foot into the door. With a loud creak, it falls off its hinges and crashes to the ground. Mitch is not going to like that, says Rose, but Wynne is gazing at his foot, too amazed by his own strength to consider the consequences of what he's just done. Imaginary, he whispers.